So, how do you ask someone to change their behavior if you haven't said something in a long time and you've just been ignoring it? Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because in the last month, two different people were telling me about some behavior they really didn't like of someone that they knew. And both of them said to me, well, I can't really say anything because it's kind of been too long and now it'd be awkward and embarrassing and I should have said something sooner. So I think it's important to know that we can still do it. And in fact, we should still do it. So here's what I recommended. The first thing is we had a conversation about why they didn't say it in the first place. And it's usually, and in both these cases it's usually because we second guess ourselves. Something happens and instead of just saying, I don't think I like that, they just kind of like think, well, maybe I'm being too picky. Maybe I need to get used to this. And they don't want to make waves. And so they say nothing. And then before you know it, time has passed. And then it feels like, well, if I say something now I should have said something sooner. So I better just learn to live with it. So we talked about the emotions behind that. And we have to be honest that that's it. So now we're allowing the guilt of not having say something, another emotion, create more self-doubt. So we have to turn that on its head and just ask ourselves this simple question. If somebody else was having this problem, what would we say to them? We would say, well, just say it now. And so the rest of this relationship can be more comfortable. And so everybody would agree to that. So I just encourage people to say, well, what would you tell someone else? Well, yeah, I would tell them it's time now. You've been uncomfortable long enough. And so you make the decision. Once you make the decision, then you have to figure out the second step would be a time and a place. So if it's someone who's a personal relationship, I encourage people to go to a coffee shop and, say, I wanted to have a conversation with you. Could we go to a coffee shop? And it's not a big deal, but I just, I've been putting something off and I feel silly for bringing it up now, and just let them know what's going on. If it's a business relationship, well, then we want to figure out a way to have a private conversation with them. You might invite them to lunch, or you might ask to speak to them in the conference room alone for a minute or something, and just say this again. It's like not a big deal. But the thing is when we start the conversation, this is the third thing I teach people, is this magic sentence, which is, you may not be aware, but, and the thing is we have to give people an out. Like we have to let them know, we know they're not meaning to upset us. We know they're not meaning to be disrespectful or whatever the irritation is. But so we need to come at it from a place of real respect and saying, you're doing this and this is the impact on me. And I just want you to understand that this is what's been going on. Now, if they get upset and say, well, you should have said something sooner, say, yeah, I should have. Sorry about that. So how do we move on from here? And that's really all we have to do, is say, we just want to move on from here. Now, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but this has really transformed some relationships that I've been able to, by teaching this stuff to people, it's really transformed the quality of personal relationships. And also at work, when people start to be very honest about where they stand, they start being seen as confident, as more promotable, as easier to work with, because when people know where you stand, it's just easier to get along. So I really encourage you to take this to heart. And below in the link, you'll see that you can also download my Ask for What You Want script. It's a 4-step script on how to ask for a behavior change. And I do encourage you to download that. And if you have any questions, I am here to help. So take care of yourself and hope to speak to you soon.